in the first place, I would like to say that I'm very happy to present our work in this conference. So we are a big team. We are going to talk about the difference that we can find between NEOTERM or neologism when you analyze corpus for language. So what we are going to talk about is a closer look to the determinologisation process. So the team, we are 6 that we are working on this topic. Each of one of us in a very specific point of application. So we have Ana Salgado, she's more related to lexicography, Sarah Carvalho more linked to linked data and ontologies, and Margarida is more linked to corpus. We have Raquel, who is working with digitization, and Bruno, who is mainly working with information science. So we are all part of this group. So our outline, so we will talk, we have a little introduction. So theoretical framework, neologism and difference between the two of them, how we compile. So this will be, we will present this very quickly. It will be more detailed in the paper. We will talk a little bit about word formation, the difference between terminologization and determinologization, lexicographic treatment of neologism, and we will propose a lexicographical model that we are working on. So it's still a draft of what we are thinking to do, and we have our conclusions. So the introduction, I think it's a little bit the same for all of us. So it's in fact that pandemic brought new text into the communities. So it's several new lexical units have permeated the overall media discourse, as well as social media and other channels. So what we to talk about is about the impact of pandemic into the Portuguese, into the European Portuguese. And well, we think after looking in a very detailed way on our corpus that there is in fact a difference between what we call neoterms in terminology and what we call neologism for everyday life in language. So our theoretical framework, we have 3 of them. So we work mainly in terminology, and we have a double dimension. It means that we care with the linguistic level, but also with the conceptual level. We work in lexicology, so it's we deal with the full meaning and behavior of lexical units, and we work with lexicography. It is, we mean the process of writing, editing, and or compiling a dictionary. So we try to bring all these theoretical background together. So in the first place, so what is a neologism? So we have, as we said, a neologism used in everyday life, and we have what we call a terminological neologism. In literature, you can find very different ways of talking about this phenomena. And you know that some of us talk about neoterm, some of us talk about neonymy. We prefer to work with neoterm since it's the terminology that is used in ISO TC 37, and then we can find in the standard 1087 that have been released in 2019. So that's the definition that we are using for neoterm. So what is a neologism? We'll take a look at what said Pruvot and Sablerol. So neologism is a new word or new meaning of an existing word in the language. And for ISO TC 37, a neoterm is a term that is specifically coined for a given general concept. In our, what did we do? So we have 2 different corpus. We have the PressCoronaCorpus, who is our corpus of analysis, and we have in this corpus we can find new papers and magazines related to COVID-19 topics. And we have a second corpus that we call the reference corpus, and is an LSP Corona corpus. We have official documents produced by healthcare agencies and healthcare professionals and scientists. So the PressCoronaCorpus, so we did a text typology according to social activities and targeted audiences. So we can see that we have a bunch of different types of text. And we have in this this corpus is big enough for our work. So we began to work and we compiled this corpus from the 15th November until July 2021. So we have around, as you can see, a big amount of tokens, a big amount of works. We have 986 texts that we are looking at. So what we found, so our main topic was to see how we could exploring the term or the lexical unit COVID-19. As you can see, for Portuguese language, you have a big variety of ways of coining the term. So you can see we have a lot of them. This one, COVID-19, written, the fourth element here, is the one that is used by the World. Yes, the World Health Organization. So it's the one that is used. And so that would be the one that we would use if you would work in terminology. So, so what do we found? So some example that we found in our corpus. So we found COVID as an hybrid acronym. So it means coronavirus disease 2019, and COVID is an ellipsis. So what we find as lexical unit, for instance, you have COVID, covidario, covidiana, alle COVID, covidat, covidiota. As you can see, so we have COVID is an acronym. The other ones, we have three elements that are derivations, and we have elements that are composition, and we have a portmanteau and typology. I think it's the way we say it in English. And as you can see, so we have COVID as a word element. So that's what for us, what is important is in this paper. So we have a word element. COVID is the base, and then we have a suffix. And here, for instance, even if it looks very similar, but in one case we have a derivation process, and in the second element we have a portmanteau process, or a composition. What is interesting here for Portuguese language is that the suffix idade enables the formation of new nouns from adjectival basis, but in this case, it's not the case. So it's a very neological process. And the second note is we have COVID and COVID. So we consider it as being a formation element. And this idea is for us the more interesting, and we are working on this because we think this should be, we have to look we have to look at it in a very clear way. So what do we found in our corpus? So we have the coronavirus disease 2019, and then we have an acronym process, and then we take away the hyphen, and then we have COVID. You can still identify the acronym, but then we go to COVID as a noun, and at the end we consider COVID to be a word element. So we have a polylexical unit, an acronym, a word, and at the end we have a word element. So what has this to do with terminologization and determinologization? So if you take a look at terminologization, so it's when a word for some kind of processes became a term, and the other way around, when we have a term that is used in a professional community and it goes in everyday life. Terminology doesn't care about determinologization, so you don't find the definition in the standards, for instance. So the only thing what terminology wants to know, it's about a word that is going to be, that is a term during a process. Okay, so when we look at terminologization, so we can see that this is a process by which a general word or lexical unit is being used more and more as a term in a specific domain or subject. And in the standard 704, you have the process by which a general language word or expression is transformed into a term designating a concept in a language for special purposes. What we are dealing here with is exactly the other way around. So it's when we have a process by which a term is transformed into a general language word or expression. And this process by which a scientific term during its way from a field specialist to a layperson loses its accuracy, gets new connotation, and the word can be even moved to refer to a completely different thing. And this is what we found with COVID in social media. So what is the point here? So when we switch from a term that is designating a concept in the subject field to a word used in a general language, what happens? Well, it happens when the people involved in the communication are layperson and not experts. Second situation is the situational communication context belong to everyday life. And the third element is the word is used without the reference to the conceptual system the original terms belongs to. So this is the way that we can identify a term that loses their status and becomes a word. Okay, so what Maya says in Macintosh, so they say that these kind of words undergo minor conceptual shifts as they cross the border between specialized and general language and are therefore not fully terminological in the strictest sense of these terms. Okay, so this is the process that we can have again. So if you are reusing the word as a formative element contributes to the process of determinologization, since the core meaning is used in a superficial manner. Okay, so it means that covidiota, these terms, for instance, are neologism. They are not terms because they don't refer to a specific concept in a specific domain. And we can here identify the morphological process that is behind. So these words refer to a COVID context, but they neither convey specialized features, nor do they belong to a conceptual system of a domain. So when it comes to the lexicographical context, so what we did, we took a look at two dictionaries. So we took a look at Pribera, and we took a look at Infopedia. So these are two dictionaries that are available online. They are constant. They have constant updating, and they have a very broad lemma list, more than 100,000 entries. And so we took a look at how they deal with COVID, Covidario, Covidiano, and anti-COVID. And we can see here, for instance, on one hand, we have Covidario, and on the other hand, we have Pribera, and on the other hand, we have Infopedia. So you can see they have different lexicographical strategies. And as you can see, so both of them, so they have a domain label. They can, in this case, you have the word formation that are used in this context, and in Covidario, this information, we can find it on another level of the lexicographic article. So if you move on here, again, we have Covidiano and Covidiano. So we have adjectives, and you can see here, you have, again, you have the word formation, but as you can see, there is no label for the domain, okay? So we don't know if they consider this to be general speaking language, or if they consider it to be it is a term that belongs to a domain. So they avoid that information.
And Ruth, just to let you know, like about a minute.
Yes,
thank you.
I will need eventually 2 minutes. It's okay, Aneta. Sorry, but I'm finishing. So we have this anti-COVID in this again. So again, they don't have they don't have the domain, and on the other hand, they don't mention the year, they don't mention 19. Okay, so again, as if you compare all of this, so they have different strategies and they present their article in very different ways. So what do we have? So these dictionaries register some of the neologisms detected in our corpus. There are still some of the elements that are not in the dictionary, even if they are updated every day, and none of the dictionary has neological collocation. They don't identify, we don't have the label referring to a neologism or to new entries. And of course, we don't have provide as a formative that can also form new words such as other nouns, other verbs, and other adjectives. So this is our model that we propose and that we are working on. This has been presented in Lexonomy. You can see that we have here sciences médicas, medical sciences. There is a relation with NEOTERM Lab Med, so it's an ontology that we did for labeling. For domain labeling, and we have the collocation here that we think it's very important for translation, for translators. For instance, it's very important to have this kind of collocation. And we propose a model, and we propose to introduce COVID as a word formation. So this is this we have to think about it, but we think this is a very interesting element since it's really very productive and very creative. So we therefore argue that it's important to present COVID as a word element, to present collocation, and to keep the COVID entry both as an acronym and as a noun. Conclusion, sorry, Annette, it's our last mail. So neologisms are linguistic phenomena that are morphosynthetically manifested via the creation of new words, the attribution of new meanings to already existing lexical units. Neoterms are new terms whose aim is to designate or redesignate new concepts, and the process of determinologisation results in the creation of false neoterms. It's the results of minor conceptual shifts or new connotations. Okay, we would not find them in a conceptual system. And the conclusion is, well, COVID as a word element is neological per se. So it is used in the creation of both neologism and neoterms. We have to give more attention to this phenomena. We need to for continuous corpus update, and very relevant. So it's the relevance of multidisciplinary teams undertaking regular linguistic observation of such phenomena involving lexicographers, linguists, and domain experts to support accurate decision making. Thank you very much.